Yo, what's up guys? I'm going to show you how you can make this Armament Haki system in Roblox Studio. I will also show you how you can implement it into your combat system to do more damage. Attention developers and creators, I just launched my own official Discord server. If you're looking for high quality Roblox Studio models, scripting help, or a place to connect with other developers, this is the spot for you. You can get exclusive assets, ask questions to our scripters, and level up your development skills with our awesome community. Be one of the first to join and help shape the server. Now back to the video. Okay, let's get started. So the things we will need are, in the workspace we need a folder called Player VFX. Then in replicated storage we need 3 folders, one for the assets. In here you'll put like animations and sounds. That's for the combat. So you can see the combat system in one of my other videos. It's like how to make a combat system framework. Go check that one out, and that one will have the combat system. But I'm only going to show you how you implement it into the damage part. So you need the sounds for the Haki. I will make a video on observation, but this is just the armament one. So yeah, just add the sound in here. Whatever sound you've got, you can probably just get it from the toolbox. And that's all you really need for the assets. I don't have an animation, so I'm just not going to add an animation. If you want to add an animation, I'll show you where you can do that. Next you need is the replicate. This is part of the framework. And inside of here, you will need a folder for Haki types, or whatever you want your Haki folder to be called. And in here you'll have the local side of things. So we'll have the armament folder right here, or the armament module, and inside of here you want to have the effects. In this case it's just the arm that you saw with some particles in it. Okay, and then the last thing you need is just remotes. You need these 2 remotes, one for replication and one for the server side of things. That's all for the replicator storage. Then in server script service you need 2 scripts, one for when the player is added. I'll show what this is used for in a bit, and then one for the server side of the framework. So in here you'd have, you know, all the things that you'd want. So the 2 armament types, the combat abilities, movement things, everything like that. And yeah, you want the script in here as well for the server side. Final thing, inside of starter player you want to have, well, in the starter character scripts you want to have a config. But this is for the combat system, but it's still good to have just a config in here. And this is for the armament, the observation. So I won't get into this now, next video. And then the thing we actually need in starter player scripts is 2 scripts. One for the inputs, and one for the replication. Now, I'm not doing this with context action service. I can add a version like that in the comments or something, but I'm just going to use user input service for the moment, because I mean, for a combat game most people play on computer anyway. So yeah, but you can add context action service for this yourself. It's just like more work, because if you want to have like a proper one, you'd kind of want some actual UI for it, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, this is the input area. We need 2 services, user input service and replicate storage. And then the folders that we need are the assets. We don't need the assets, so just take that out. But we need the remotes folder. And obviously we need the player and the character. This isn't actually needed right now, but you'll have other things in here that will need it. For the moment you don't need these though. Like for this you don't. Now for the actual user input service portion, you do user input service dot input began. That's how you get when you make an input. Connect function. The first parameter is the input. The second one is game processed event, which is mainly just used to check if you're typing. So if you're typing, it will return end. Then we do if the input dot user input type. This is for the combat. So you just want to have if this J. So if you press J, I'll put it as an else if because I already have one. But you would just do this. You would do that. So yeah, and then this here is for the framework. We do the main remote. This sends to the server, and this would be this one here, the main remote. This fires to the server, and these are the parameters. So we need to send through the name of the thing, which is Haki types. That's the folder that we're gonna call on. the type is the actual module. So in this case, it's armament, and the function is the function side of the module. So yeah, from this we go into server-side armament. I'll quickly show the server-side of the thing. You don't need this. So yeah, we don't even need run service. Just this. I'm not going to explain this. This is for the framework part of things. It basically just requires the module. That's it. It just requires the module, and that's the replicator. But it requires the module, and then it uses these parameters to require and know which function inside of the module to fire based on what we send through. So yeah, here we are. Just copy this. And for the replicator real quick as well, which is in here, it's the same thing, but for this one instead, we're just going to loop through everything inside of the replicate folder to find the one with the type, so armament. So it'll just loop through everything in here until it finds armament, and then it will call the function that we send through. So this is the replicator. I'll show you this, where you fire this in just a minute. Yeah, copy this real quick. You don't actually need this though. All the players. You do need the RP. Yeah, you don't need the players or the run service. But there we go. Okay, the actual server side of things, which would be, we don't need U2 anymore. Server side of things is U. Very simple. So what you do is module.fire. So this is what we sent through for the function fire. So in here we just need server script. So we don't need debris in this one, but you would need this for other things. So we need these things. The animation. Oh no, we don't need. Take the animation out. Okay. We need the remotes folder and previous use. This is for the cooldown. So previous use is just what the last time you used the ability, or whatever thing you're using. In this case, it's Armament Haki. But when we fire the function, we get the character and the config. The config is this folder that we made here. It's not used in this, but you know, for other things it is. And current use is the first time that we press, what the current time that we fire the Haki. So it'll set this to os.time, which is just the number since the game has started, and it will do the current one that we just got now because we just pressed minus the previous one, and if that's more than 2, then it will say that there's a cooldown. If it's less than 2, so 2 seconds haven't passed, then it will warn cooldown. Otherwise, it will set the previous use to the current use, so you can use it again for the next time you press, and you can check again if you're on cooldown or not. So you can change this number to whatever you want the cooldown to be. I just put it to 2 because it's not really an ability. It doesn't have to be too long. Next thing here, we have an attribute check. So we're checking if you already have Armament Haki enabled, and if you do, then it will turn it off, set it to nil, so it just removes it. And this is the multiplier. This is how we're going to change the damage for the combat, or you know, whatever you want the Haki to boost. I'll show you where this is used in just a second after I finish explaining the rest. So in the else, we check if you don't have Haki on, and it will set it to true, and it'll set the multiplier to 5. So this is what we're going to multiply the damage by. I only set it to 5 so that it's very obvious and you can see the actual damage. So it was easier to show for the showcase at the start. Next, this is where we fire through the replicator. So you want to send through the player because that's the first thing you have to send through from the server. And then the parameters, same thing as before. Haki types, armament, and then the function. This one is just called activate. You can call it whatever you want, but it'll be activate because we're activating a Haki. And just send through the player again. Yeah. Then this is the local. This is the one that we just fired, the arm activate. Now in here you will do sound. So for the sound you can actually do this wherever you want. You could do it in here. This is inside of here, it'll only play for you, and if you put it in here it will play for every player. So it's up to you if you want the sound to be heard by everyone or just you. I put it so it's heard by just you, but if you don't want that, then you can just put it in here. And yeah, same thing, config, all that. It's simple. This is only used for the sound and the animation if you have an animation, but I don't have an animation, so we're just going to move to the next part where it fires back to the server for the FX function, and then here we will fire back to the client for all the effects. And the reason we have to do this is because we want to do fire all clients for the effects. We can't do fire client. Fire all clients basically just shows it for every player in the game. So we just want to do fire all clients, send through the parameters, and then the character. This is so we know who to actually put the effects on, because this character is you. And then in here we have the character, and these two are just the left arm and the right arm, because we need to put the effects on that. And we're checking if we have Armament Haki, the value. If you do, then it will create the effects. I'll go through this in just a second. And if not, then it will loop through everything inside of the player VFX, which is where the effects are going to be created. And it will destroy everything and disable the particle. I'll get to this. But yeah, so effects 1 and effects 2. This is for left arm, right arm, and you can rename these to actually like left arm effects and whatnot, but this works. So scriptor armament effects, this is inside the module. This is the actual effect. We'll just clone it and we will put it inside the player VFX. And the reason we do set attribute owner character.name is so we can find it later in the loop. So we're going to set an attribute to this part or effect part, and we're going to call the attribute owner, and the owner will be the character.name. So we can loop through, find if the effect is actually yours, and if it is, then we can delete it. Do the same for the other one, for the left arm, right arm, whichever one. And then we'll do a tween to make the transparency be set to 0. This is where like it smoothly comes in, and you do want to make this transparent so that it tweens slowly into transparency, transparency to 0. And yeah, then you want to do the welds. This is so you can actually put them on the character, like on the arm. And also you want to make sure that this is can collide off and anchored off. The reason you want anchored off is because you're going to weld it to the arm. If it wouldn't be welded, then you would want to have it anchored, but we're welding it. So you create a weld inside the right arm. Part 0 needs to be the arm, part 1 needs to be the effect, and the C0 is basically where you're going to position it. So we're going to position it, new effects 1, which is where it already is, inverse. This kind of just like, this chunk here just kind of negates, this chunk here basically just sets the C frame to the right arm C frame, and then we just want to multiply this by the position so we can move it down a bit. Yeah, that's it. And we do the same for the other weld, but we put it on the left arm instead. And yeah, make sure you have this for the second one as well, the tween. Now if you're turning the effect off, you loop through everything inside the player VFX, and if the attribute owner is equal to the character name, then we'll check if the name is Armament VFX FX. This is in case, you know, you have something else that is still yours, but it's not actually for the Haki. If it is, then you will loop through everything inside the Armament effects, so it would be this part, and when you get to the particle emitter, if it's a particle emitter, then it will disable it. This is so you can smoothly let the effects go, and then after 0.3 seconds it will destroy the effect. And you want to do the same for this. Also, we do want to add this real quick, 0.5, to actually destroy the part itself. I'm quite sure we want to do this. 1 second. There we go. For icon VN. This is so you can just destroy the actual part itself as well, because I'm quite sure it was just staying in there before. But yeah, this is it for the effects. And now we'll quickly get into the damage multiplier part. So in the player added function, this is how most games do a lot of the back end stuff. They create a folder inside of the player, or somewhere. That doesn't have to be inside of the player, but they call that folder, you know, player data or something. And in here you just have all the data and information about the player. I'm going to create a value in there called damage multiplier. It's going to be a number value. We're going to set it to 1 as a base, so there's no multiplier, it's just 1. And in here you can see that we change it to 5, and this is used so when we attack we have the take damage thing. That's how you do taking. I'll go and show you the script for the combat. So you have take damage here, you see, and then you would just do the damage that you want the thing to do, and then you times it by the damage multiplier. That's how you do damage increases and stuff. So the damage multiplier, you would get it here, player.playerData.damage multiplier. This is because I'm creating this inside the player. I'm making a folder inside of the player, and I'm calling it player data. Inside of the player data folder, we're creating a damage multi value, which is a number value, and we're just going to set it to 1. And this happens when the player joins. Game.player is the player added connect player. The parameter here will be the player, and the character here isn't necessary, but you know, you're gonna add other stuff in here, not just this. So the character would come in at some point. But yeah, so in here you would have whatever hitbox you have, however you decide to make the hitbox. But all you need to do is get the damage multiplier, and then add it inside of the take damage part. You just times it by the damage multiplier, and that's it. Then you would just press play, and if you press J, and yeah, that's the sound. And you can turn it off, and you can see you don't do any extra damage with. There you go, you do a lot more damage. So that's the tutorial for Armament Haki.